Hi guys, let's mix this strapless gown, bodycon gown together. I got my fabric silk Duchess. I got 1.5 yard for it. If you are on a bigger side, you can get 2 yard if the is. So my full length is 43 inches. I drew a straight line, connected it together. Then my half length is my bust point, is 10 inches. I connected it together. For my half length is 16 inches. I went down by 16.5 so that in case of joining, so that my measurement will still be accurate. For my shoulder is 15 inches, so it's 7.5 inches. So I went up from my bust point by 2 inches to make it from my chest, and that's when my strap will start from my gown. That's the upper part that it will start from. So for my shoulder, I divided it and slanted it by 0.5 inches for my shoulder slant. So that's my bust point, my chest, my chest line, and my waistline. So for my under bust, it's by 13 inches. I went up by 13 inches, connected it together. So that's my hip length. I went down from my waistline by 8 inches for my hip length. So that's my chest line, my bust point, my waistline, and my hip length. I divided my measurement by 4. My waist is 28 inches. I got 7 inches for my waist, added 2 inches for allowance for all my measurements. I connected it all together. I connected it all together down to my full length. I took 10 inches for my down length because I don't want it to be too free because of the slits at the front. So I want it to be more tight because there is already a slit for movement, for easier movement. So if you want yours to be free, you can still make it 12 inches or 13 inches. It depends on your measurement. So I cut it out. Then for my back, I've already folded my back into 2. So that's me labeling it my back fabric. So for my zip allowance, I went in by 1.5 inches. If your fabric is stretchy, you don't need a zip, but this fabric is not stretchy, so I need a zip for this. So 1.5 inches, I connected it down, straight down to my full length for my zip allowance at the back. So you know that this is not a pattern drafting, this is just on my fabric. So to avoid that bulgeness at the back of my dress, on my front pattern, I went in by my waist by 0.5 inches, make it make it in 1 inch. I connected it together to my waistline. Then I pin it down. If you have a tape, you can tape it. If you have a tape, you can tape it. You can use it to tape it. I use my pin to pin it down. To avoid that bulginess. If you are using a pattern, please, you can slant it out because it's not needed. It's just a pattern, but this is a fabric. So I did that for my fabric to avoid that bulginess at the back of my zip. So I place it at the back of my dress. Then I cut out the back of my dress pattern. So at the front, I remove my pin because it's not needed. So from my chest line, I cut it out for my front pattern. I cut it out from my chest line. So on my back line, I want my back to be more lower than my front. If you don't want yours to be lower, but I will advise you, please make it lower. So I went down from my zip inch by 1 inch. Then I connected it to the side of my dress. Then I cut it out to be lower I want it to be more lower than my front. So that's it. So that's it. So I I cut it out. So from my hip length, I went down by 4 inches. You can go down by 3 inches. It determines how long you want your slit to be, but I don't want mine to be so deep, so I went down by 5 inches. Then I went by my side. I went at the side by 2 inches, connected it together to make these straight lines you are seeing. So for my slit, I calculated the circumference of it. So my circumference was 38. I times it by 2 inches, so I got 78. I'll be 72, whatever. So because I don't have much of fabric, I would cut mine in a straight line. That flared, that ruffles you see at the side of that dress is not cut in a straight line, it's cut in a circular form, but we don't have enough fabric, so I'm doing it in a straight line. My ruffles will be in a straight line. So that's my straps for my ruffles. So I don't want to use a bias to tape the front of my dress, since it's not going to have a lining. So I'm using the fabric for the taping. For the taping, I cut it out. You don't need more than 3 inches for the taping. Just a little, maybe 2.5 determines. But I don't want mine. I don't want to use a bias. I did the same thing for my back. I cut it out for my back. I divided my back into two. I've already cut it out from the zip. So please watch for the part 2. Thank you. Bye.